What's happening, everybody? I appreciate you checking in. All right, day 2 of training camp is in the books, and a couple of the players, Robert Spillane, Zeus, Jack Jones, Christian Wilkins, and Patrick Graham, they addressed the media. And there's a lot of times when after practices, players and coaches, they address the media, and you don't get a whole lot. Sometimes the reporters, they don't ask a lot of very intuitive questions. Sometimes they're just very basic questions, but there's every once in a while where you can kind of sense something, where you can pick something out. I take it from all the years that I played this game and I coached this game. I played for 15 years. I coached for 23 years. And over those years, you do a lot of reading your coaching staff. You read the players. You even read the parents. Especially sometimes I started out coaching at the youth level, and a lot of times you got to read the parents, and that's kind of what I prided myself on. It was I was able to kind of read the players, the parents, my coaching staff. I was able to read them, fairly well, and it allowed me to have a lot of success as a coach and kind of move up the ranks a little bit. And so sometimes when you hear the players talk, when you hear the coaches talk, you get a sense of something, or you can kind of feel like something's changing, whether that's good or bad. And I did kind of catch on to some of the things that the players were saying and stuff that Patrick Graham was saying as well. And I kind of would jump on here and share it with you. But before we get into it, if you can, please like this video, subscribe, turn on those notifications. My next giveaway is at 40. My next giveaway is at 4,000 subscribers. So if you want to be including that, hit that subscribe button. But before we get into the video, let's have a little bit of fun and name this player. Name this player. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you know who this player is, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. The player, he played for the Raiders between 1993 and 2001. He did play his last 2 seasons in the NFL with Minnesota. When he was with the Raiders, out of 5 out of the 9 seasons, he had 100 or more tackles, 100 plus tackles, 5 out of the 9 seasons. And he had 90 plus tackles, 7 out of the 9 seasons. And so, again, I remember watching this player, and he was one of the anchors in the defense during the time that he played. And I loved watching him play, growing up as a youth player and through high school. I was a linebacker. I played linebacker, through my youth years, through my high school years. And, that's one of the positions that I always attached myself to. The positions that I always watched as a young kid and through my high school years is I watched the linebackers. And this guy was fun to watch, and he was a stud throughout those years that he played with the Raiders. And so, again, let me know in the comment section down below if you know who this player is. All right, so let's kind of get into this. And again, like I said, a lot of the players, they address the media. And one thing I will say is I think, Zeus, Zamir White, he kind of gives me those vibes of he's just that player that everybody gets along with. He's kind of easy going. Obviously, when it gets to the football side of things, when he steps on that field, it's all business. But off the field, he seems like that player that everybody can kind of gravitate to because you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna have a fun time. So I kind of like Zeus's personality. He doesn't get up and talk to the media a lot, and so it was good to kind of see him open up. Then you had Jack Jones, Robert Spillane, and Christian Wilkins. And the one thing that I got from these players, and again, a lot of these reporters, they ask very basic questions. But one thing is that I caught on to was I truly do think these players are fighting for these coaches. I think they're fighting for Antonio Pierce. They're fighting for their coaches, whether it be if you're on the defensive side, you're fighting for Patrick Graham or your position coach. Jack Jones came on up to the podium, and someone asked him about the newest or the most recent ESPN rankings, and they basically ranked us dead last. And I'll be honest, I was going to do a video on that. I actually did the video, but I was like, you know what? I'm not putting that out there. Screw it. I don't care. ESPN, you could do what you want. Yes, it would have been good content to get on here and talk about it. But my thing was I've always taken that motto. Don't talk about it, be about it, right? And us, we haven't done enough to kind of earn the respect of anybody. We have to take that field, and we have to prove that all these rankings and ESPN and PFF or whoever it may be, all these sports analysts that disrespect us day in, day out, we need to produce. It's really that simple. And so at the end of the day, someone did ask him about the newest or the most recent ESPN report. And Jack Jones basically said, look, he doesn't pay attention to it, but because it gets flooded into his social media all the time, he does see it. And the one thing that he mentioned was he hated the disrespect that that article put on Antonio Pierce, ranking him as the 28th head coach in the NFL. It pissed him off. Obviously, Jack Jones has his ties to Antonio Pierce and he's got that relationship. So I understand that. But he came on there and he was pissed off. He wants to prove not only that this team is going to be better than what the report says, but he wants to prove that AP is not 28th in this league. He wants to prove that AP is one of the best coaches in this league. And that was one of the first things that he said. So you can tell that no matter what this team does, they are fighting for this coaching staff. They're fighting for their defensive coordinator, their head coach, their offensive coordinator. And so I'm excited. And Robert Spillane did the same thing. Robert Spillane came on and he gave nothing but credit to Patrick Graham for the job that he's doing, the way that he's developing this team, the way that he's coaching this team, the way that Patrick Graham is basically taking ownership, not only of being the leader of this team, but also leading by example. During the presser today, he said that he made a mistake with the script and he owned it. And you could tell in the presser that he was a little bit ticked off at himself. And so by him doing that, it's showing that he's taking ownership and leading by example. And I really do. I appreciate that because that was one of the best things that's one of the things that I liked doing as a coach, but also when I played, when you had a coach that owned up to the mistakes that they may have made and show the humility, but at the same time, they show that leadership. And so I really respect that out of Patrick Graham. And I do think he's, without question, winning over not only the veterans, the players that were on this squad last year, the last 2 years with him, but the newer players coming on to this Raiders defense. And so I'm definitely excited. Actually, before the players came up and talked, Patrick Graham was the first one to the podium today. And this is one of the things that I'm excited about. I think that Patrick Graham just has a different tone. I think his tone is very different. What I get out of him is that he is 100% not more confident in himself. I think he knows that he could do a good job, but I think he has confidence that now he can show what he can do. I watched all the press conferences last season, and when Josh McDaniels was running the ship, when he was the head coach, you can almost tell Patrick Graham was almost being careful as to what he said. His tone was different. His demeanor was different. His body language was different. But in this press conference, he came out and you can almost tell he wanted to command the room. And this is actually one of the things, I think it was either Robert Spillane or Christian Wilkins. He came out and he said that one of the things that Patrick Graham does is he commands his audience. He commands the room. He commands the players. And so he's taking on that role. And I just love seeing it. I love seeing the demeanor and the body language Patrick Graham now has. That was the first time that I saw Patrick Graham up there at that podium, and you can kind of just feel the difference in what he's bringing this season. Again, it's all credit to Antonio Pierce. I think Antonio Pierce is kind of cutting that leash. He's taking off that leash and he's saying, Patrick Graham, you do your thing. You do your thing. You be the mastermind of this defense. You put this thing together and you make it work. And I think that's what he's doing. And you can feel it in Patrick Graham. And I love seeing it. I think that this is going to create something extremely special this season on the defensive side of the ball. Not only is it exciting because he could turn this thing into something special, but at the same time, we are going to rely on this defense to win football games this season. Unless this offense just completely surprises us. If Luke Getsy all of a sudden just turns this offense around and all of a sudden we're averaging 27 points a game, whoever plays quarterback is throwing for touchdowns and Zamir White's, averaging 100 yards a game, stuff like that. Unless this offense just shocks not only the entire Raider fan base, but the entire league, we are going to rely on this defense. And this is why it's so exciting, because I think what Patrick Graham is now being able to bring to the table, you match that up with not only the talent that we have on this defense, but I think the chip that all these players have on their shoulder. I think these players know they're coming in and they have to carry this team. I think they do understand that the role that they are going to play is massive in order for us to have a successful football season. And so I think Patrick Graham is setting the tone, and you can see it in his demeanor. You can see that the way he is addressing the media, the way that he is just standing up there, just his mannerisms are very different from last year. And so I'm excited, guys. I am excited to see kind of how this um, training camp progresses. We put on pads in the next 2 days, I believe it is. Once they put on the pads, this is where the football players come out. This is where you're going to really decide who that 53 man roster is going to be. And so I'm excited. So I just want to come on here and talk about it, guys. Again, like I said, every press conference you're not going to get, you might get a lot of repetitiveness, right? The reporters are asking the same questions, but every once in a while you do kind of get something that you can kind of take with. And again, I just take it from my experience of playing and coaching this game. And so this is kind of what I took from this press conference. It wasn't necessarily what was being said, but it was just the way Patrick Graham was presenting himself. And you can tell his confidence and his trust in Antonio Pierce is through the roof. And so, and the only other thing I want to end with, guys, is I'm I'm really I'm excited that I'm excited that Mark Davis, Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, they decided to do an off-site training camp. They're away from Henderson. They're in Costa Mesa, and every single time the players went up, as well as Patrick Graham, they basically said how important it is, and really the opportunity that they're getting to kind of vibe with everybody, right? To become a team. And that is one of the most underrated aspects of really any team sport, but more importantly, football, because you got to trust the players around you. You got to build a rapport. You got to build kind of confidence within each other as a team. And one way to do that is to put yourselves together where you cannot report to the locker room, report to practice, and then you bounce, and go do your own thing. These players are going to be around each other 24/7 for the next 17 days. And I'm excited. I'm excited that they have this opportunity. And I do think the bond and the chip on the shoulder of these players that they're going to have, I think it's going to translate to some dangerous football players when we hit week 1 against the Chargers. So I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see kind of how training camp progresses. So I appreciate you sticking with me. I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but again, coming on YouTube and doing this, it allows me to kind of jump on and really express my feelings about this team, and I'm excited for it. So again, I appreciate you sticking with me. And if you can, please like this video, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Next giveaway is at 4,000 subscribers. So if you want to be including that, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm out.